Hi, and welcome to Math for All, where everyone can learn more about math. Today, we will investigate how to solve linear inequalities, where the linear part just means that they include a variable raised to no visible powers, and the inequality means that they are greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. I call these guys the alligators because the alligator mouth would eat the bigger number, and that's more fun than saying inequality sign. Before we get too far into this, please go to my website, mathforall.net, and print out notes that follow along with this video and that you can fill in the blanks. That will be great to really learn this. Linear inequalities look like these, and we have to figure out what the variables have to be to make them true. You may be able to see that these will normally have infinite solutions, not just one solution like an x equals 3. These answers will be something like x is less than or equal to 3, meaning if I pick any number that is 3 or less, the equation will be true. I have some good news and some bad news with these. First, the good news, so you'll keep watching. The good news is that we solve these almost as if there was an equal sign, so we mostly follow the same rules that we have already learned. Cool, we can do that. But let's not forget the bad news. There is one rule that we need to remember where we will need to flip the inequality sign. Let me go over the reason we have this bad news of seemingly randomly flipping the alligator. Remember, when we solve equations, we can add, subtract, multiply, or divide on both sides of the equal signs. So I'm going to show you that when I do that, in some cases, it will make the inequality false. We'll take 1 is less than 3 that we know is definitely true. I'll add 4 to both sides. Oh, so I'm at 5 is less than 7. Is that still true? Yes, so we can add the same number to both sides and everything is totally fine. Back to my 1 is less than 3 again. Now I will subtract 2 from both sides. Doing a little math, I get -1 is less than 1. Yay, that's true too. True also? Starting with our 1 is less than 3 again. Multiply both sides by 2 this time. 2 on this side and 6 on the other side, for 2 is less than 6. True again. The suspense is killing me.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last.
1 is less than 3. This time we'll multiply both sides by -5. For -5 on this side and -15 on the other. Would you rather owe $5 or $15? I would rather owe 5 because I would be in less debt. So this inequality, if I leave the sign the same, is not true. We must exit out before someone sees this and says that I am doing illegal math. This is where we will have to flip the alligator to make it true, because -5 is greater than -15. Phew, that feels better, being all legal. Here is the summary of the steps in solving these. Step 1. Solve them as you have already learned. Be sure to copy the inequality sign down as you go. Do not turn it into an equal sign. Step 2. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must remember to flip the inequality sign. Remember, this is the only bad news about these. That's it. Well, I do think I have even more good news for you. This important rule is on a lot of placement and assessment tests because students seem to either forget it or they don't learn it very well to begin with, so the testers can catch students off guard with it. So the good news is that if you remember this, you've got some extra points right there. We're going to see this good news and bad news in action with this first example. Solve. -4y plus 35 is greater than or equal to 3. What infinite y's can I put in there to make this true? I notice that I have seen something like this before. If it had an equal sign, it would be a two-step equation. The -4 and +35 are annoying my y. First, I will get rid of the 35 by doing the opposite, subtracting 35 from both sides like this. Do some math and drop down stuff. -4y and -32 here. Here's your major life question. Do you flip the alligator sign? Well, did I multiply or divide by a negative number? No, I subtracted, so it's safe and the sign doesn't flip. Keep it as greater than or equal to. But we're not done yet. Got to get rid of that -4. It's multiplying to the y, so I will divide both sides by -4 here and here. Y and 8. Time to flip around? Yes, we divided both sides by a negative number and we get to flip it. Y is less than or equal to 8. That was super work. Before we do another example together, I'd like you to practice noticing whether that inequality will flip when we solve it. We're looking for inequalities where, to get rid of the annoyances, we will need to multiply or divide by a negative number. For these, let's tell the solvers if they have to flip that alligator. We won't even solve them. That's my kind of math. 6b is less than -30. I will have to divide by 6 to get that b by itself. That 6 is positive, so I will not flip the sign. d plus 10 is greater than or equal to 13. To solve this one, I will have to subtract 10 on both sides. No need to flip here. E over -3 is less than or equal to 7. That -3 is interesting. It is dividing, so I will have to multiply to get rid of it. Multiplying by a -3 is my rule to flip the inequality, so yes, this one will flip. F minus 2 is less than 5. I will add 2 to both sides. That one's fine, no flipping needed here. -g is greater than or equal to 8. Gosh, this one looks like it's almost solved for me. But there's a pesky negative sign in front of the g that I have to take care of. I'll have to divide both sides by -1 to get rid of that, which triggers my rule, so I must flip the alligator on this one. I hope you're starting to see the pattern on these. H over 2 plus 7 is greater than 2. We'll get rid of that 7 and the 2. We'll have to multiply both sides by 2, which is not negative, so the inequality sign will stay the same as it is. Last one. Can you take a look at this and predict the answer? -8i minus 2 is less than or equal to 11. We will have to divide both sides by -8 to get rid of that guy, which is the rule. We will have to flip the alligator on that one for sure. Great job on checking those out. If you can recognize which ones will need to have an inequality flip, it will help you to actually do it when you need to. Here is our last math example to practice these together 2 ways. -2w minus 5 is less than 4w minus 17. Depending on how we choose to solve this, we may or may not have to do flippy doodle. Our first step is to move either the -2w or the 4w to the other side. If I choose to move the -2w over, I will add 2w to both sides, getting a 6w on this side, and I will not have to flip it at the end. Quickly, I'm at -5 is less than 6w minus 17. Add 17 to both sides here and here. 12 is less than 6w. No flipping when we add to both sides. Lastly, divide both sides by 6. Because it's a positive 6, again, no flipping. The answer is 2 is less than w. Or I may change the order, making sure the alligator eats the same thing, for w is greater than 2. Now let's say I made a different choice and I move the 4w over here by subtracting both sides by 4w. I don't flip the inequality yet, but it will happen with this one. I'm at -6w minus 5 is less than -17. Lots and lots of negatives here. Please pay attention to detail and don't let them mysteriously disappear. Next, add 5 to both sides here and here. For negative 6w is less than negative 12. Still keep the alligator the same because we just added to both sides. We need to eliminate that negative 6. We will divide both sides by it. Remember that dividing by a negative triggers my brain to flip that inequality. W is greater than 2. Ha! The same answer we got before. I am so glad you stuck with this to really see what's going on here. We'll need to practice these to make it automatic to flip when we multiply or divide by negative numbers. The rest is just normal solving equations. Just don't turn those alligators into equal signs, please. But go ahead and print out a practice worksheet from my website, mathforall.net, where you can solidify this simple but tricky rule so you won't forget it. And please come back to learn more about math. I will say that Puppy is less than impressed with my math skills. Good job. Good job.